Namaste. POJK is burning fiercely once again, and this time the unrest is spreading rapidly. Pakistan Army Chief General Asim Munir finds himself in serious trouble as the people of Pakistan occupied Jammu Kashmir continue to raise their voices despite brutal suppression. Instead of addressing the genuine grievances of the people, Pakistan is once again repeating its old playbook, deflecting blame onto Bharat while refusing to accept the complete failure of its so-called Azad Kashmir occupation. What started this massive movement? The people of POJK were simply demanding two basic things: affordable electricity in a region that is rich in hydropower and reasonable prices for bread at a time when wheat shortages are severely affecting the mountains. What began as a peaceful demands for economic relief and democratic rights has been met with bullets, arrests, bans, and complete internet blackouts. But the fire runs much deeper. We must be very clear here. This is not merely an internal Pakistani matter. POJK is Indian territory under illegal Pakistani occupation since October 1947. An occupation that began after Maharaja Hari Singh signed the Instrument of Accession with Bharat. The horrors of the Mirpur massacre and the atrocities committed in Muzaffarabad, Kotli, Bimbar, and other areas remain painful reminders of that original Pakistani aggression. Today, activists from POJK and the Kashmiri diaspora are openly calling for United Nations intervention. Ironically, they are now invoking the very UN Security Council resolutions of 1948 that Pakistan has long misused. For decades, Pakistan has hidden behind the plebiscite narrative. But now, the people of POJK themselves are exposing the truth. To help us understand the ground situation and its broader implications, we have with us former Indian diplomat and West Asia expert, Anil Trigunayat ji. Welcome, sir. Sir, as a former diplomat with deep expertise in West Asia and beyond, what is your personal reaction to the killing of JAAC activist Shahzaib Habib in Rawalkot? And how do you see it in the broader context of POJK?
Well, I think at the outset, I would like to say that POJK is an integral part of India. There's no doubt about it, and it's documented, it's legal. At the same time, legally occupied by Pakistan, and although they call it Azad Kashmir, but there is hardly any Azadi, even for the people or for the political dispensation there. I think, they want to suppress and rule by suppression and disenfranchisement. That has been the problem of the Pakistani establishment forever. It has tried to rule from Islamabad or Rawalpindi, whichever way you look at it. Uh, Therefore, today the people who are suffering a great deal are rising against them. So, therefore, the JAC is the organization which is polarizing public opinion in favor of Kashmir, and that's the reason they're focusing. It's not started just now, as you know. It has been there for quite some time. And last one was, I think, on 28th September last year when they started again, and they started demanding that the subsidies should remain, that they should have the fair, share of all the resources that are being exploited from there, that the water, electricity, and cost of living, everything was going out of the window. And that's the people, ordinary person wants only roti, kapda, makan. And basically, that's what they've been asking. Even that has not been provided to them. Secondly, they also know that the reservation of about 12 seats in the assembly there in the POJK have been reserved, and they were being manipulated by the Islamabad establishment to outsmart and outmaneuver the locals. And so, therefore, they can rule it the way they want it from there. And that's what the leaders of the JACC and the ordinary people are protesting about. And they're continuing to go forward. So, merely arresting people or declaring a protesting organization as a terrorist group, I think, is a technique that cannot pay. And Pakistan establishment should not forget what happened in our region in recent years. We have seen what happened in Nepal. The Gen Z and the disgruntled people came out and removed the government. We have seen what happened in Sri Lanka. We have seen what happened in Bangladesh. So the Pakistan already has suffered something like this in 71. and they have to be more careful in dealing with the various dissensions. And it is not only in POJK, but also in Balochistan, Wazirabad, and different places. Also, they are facing so many other issues, and they are all mostly the doing and the mismanagement of the government of the day.
So we are seeing protesters strongly demanding the abolition of reserved seats for refugees. Can you explain in simple terms why this has become such a big issue? Also, many viewers may not know that there has been growing unrest in Pakistan and POJK since 2022. Could you please connect dots and explain the broader picture?
They have been keeping these 12 seats as representative of Jammu and Kashmir, and they are as kept as the part of the total. So they also continue to claim it fully. But what happens is that instead of course, they are not represented. What happens is that the people from Islamabad, the choicest people, are put in those seats and in those places. And therefore, the locals, the POJK people, want that it should be all from the POJK so that there is no skewed um, uh, power differential or electorate differential as far as the assembly is concerned. So that is their legitimate ask. I think that it should not be filled. If it is kept vacant, then it's fine. But they are using it to tilt the whole administration in their own favor. So it basically helps exploit the people, and that's why they are opposing it.
So how do you view the current wave of protest and crackdowns in POJK, not as an isolated Azad Kashmir internal matter, but as a direct consequence of Pakistan's colonial type occupation of Bharat territory?
Well, as I said earlier, that this is not only happening in POJK, this is a larger malaise. In the first place, the whole of Pakistan is facing a very major problem of economic crisis, deep economic and financial crisis in the country, which is happening as a result of the policies followed by the governments repeatedly for over the years. And that is creating a very major thing. Then Pakistan has started basking, thinking that they have been, I mean, they have achieved a great deal by being involved in diplomacy and mediation efforts between Iran and the United States on the one hand, and therefore they are thinking that they can get away with anything. Unfortunately, the Western media is not even talking about it. I mean, that is the worst part of it. And so I think that this is not an isolated case. This is a continuation of or collection of the grievances of the people over the years that they have been disenfranchised. For example, they have power cuts for hours, right? This place, they produce about 5,000 megawatt of power, out of which 4,500 megawatt of power is sent out and is not available to the people in the country, in this area, Muzaffarabad and all this. So therefore, obviously, they are disgruntled. Cost of living has gone up. That's something that, so this, they are not looking for some kind of secession immediately. But if they are pushed into, that's what they are saying, that we will go to the border. They have been appealing to the Kashmiris across the border.
So we can see POJK uprising as a freedom struggle against an aggressor that never left. How should the international community respond to these developments? Should it be recognized as an internal Pakistani matter?
I think in the first place, they have occupied illegally. So India is already contesting that all through. It is our part of the geography. Uh, but what is most important is at this stage for the international community. And as I said, that somehow the international community is pretty silent about it. I mean, that the human rights violations that are taking place on regular basis, they're illegally putting people behind bars. They're not allowing them right to protest. They are deploying the huge amount of security forces disproportionately. So all that must draw the attention of the international community. They can't be blinded by it or continue to apply the double standards as they wish. Because if somebody is your friend, you look the other way. And when somebody is having an independent foreign policy, then you go after them. So I think that this is something that the international community must pay attention to. That is the only thing that can bring the government of Pakistan in sync with the international rules of the game.
So, Pakistan has been accused of using
Yeah.
POJK as a base for promoting terrorism while neglecting local development. How do you assess the connection between resource exploitation in POJK?
With India, about 4 decades ago, it adopted this asymmetric strategy, which is cross border terrorism against India. Now, of course, the POJK is the closer to India as a border, is adjacent to India. So various groups are being brought there and are being utilized against India, which is what the people, when you nowadays listen to what the protesters are saying, they are saying that they have been used, that the resources that are there are being used against India, or they are not even in it. They would prefer to have personally better relations, and that's like Mr. Rajnath Singh said, that the situation is arriving there where those people themselves will start saying that Mehu Bharat. Or so mismanagement and misgovernance, of course, tends to, in my view, defeat any designs of illegal occupation.
Given that Pakistan never fulfilled the first condition of the 1948 UN resolution, do you think that the international community has failed to hold Pakistan accountable?
But international community has only been wanting to mediate Pakistan under the garb of their Mujahideen forces that came into India, and eventually they occupied part of Kashmir. And then the ceasefire was attained, and this case was taken by India to the United Nations. But United Nations or the four Western countries which have been calling the shots until now have not done anything. In fact, as you rightly mentioned, that the first condition was for Pakistan to vacate the POJK and before holding the referendum. But that has not happened. So there are other conditions. But more than that, there have been similar agreements. There is a Lahore agreement. In both these, it has been agreed that all issues, including Jammu and Kashmir, will be discussed through bilateral dialogue. But Pakistan has not stopped committing terror against India or fomenting terror networks, whether it was the Parliament attack or the Pahalgam attack or the Mumbai attacks, or before that, of course, Pulwama and others, several other attacks that have happened. And they're spectacular, in fact. And despite that, the international community has taken a very lenient view of Pakistan's role in these things. That has been quite evident. So, therefore, India has also changed its. India's policy is very clear. We will fight the terror ourselves. That is extremely, that's a clear policy from Uri onwards that we have seen the government of India adopting it. And that was Pahalgam was the latest. I don't have a great faith in them coming to India's help in fighting terrorism.
Leaders of the Joint Awami Action Committee, the umbrella organization spearheading the POJK movement, have accused Pakistan Army of hypocrisy, saying that it was a Pakistan Army that handed guns to Kashmiris, and today they have the audacity to call us terrorists. How do you view this?
No, I mean this is all. This is the way they have been working. The military, the country is, in fact, as you know, the most countries have a military. In Pakistan, military has a country, so they are the ones who basically decide how things go, and so they can do. They undermine the elected governments or any government that works at the pleasure of the army in that country. So same way as those who are fighting for their basic rights. Today, there is not fighting for secession. They are only fighting for the basic rights. Even for that, they are being treated as terrorists. So, obviously, this is what you are saying is absolutely correct and very convenient for them to project when they are going into the international fora.
So, as you said, Pakistan has traditionally internationalized the Kashmir issue at the UN. Can the recent unrest in the POJK shift the international conversation toward Pakistan's governance and human rights record there?
The Pakistan governance issue, everybody knows. But the countries that count, especially the Western countries, also take a very convenient approach to publicly chastise Pakistan. There is in FATF, as you know, that Financial Action Task Force. Pakistan has been there and has the unique distinction of being there regularly. because of the financing that they do for the terrorist groups, which is a clear example. Another thing is, which is very important, is that large number of groups are based in Pakistan, sustained by Pakistan. During the Op Sindoor, India killed more than 100 well-known terrorists, and there are groups in that. So every whole world knows about what Pakistan does. Despite that, on a very important issue like terrorism, which is a global challenge, the international community is not together. India had brought out a draft comprehensive convention on international terrorism. Prime Minister Modi, in fact, in 2016 or 15, I think he's the first time when he addressed it, he said that there's no single definition of terrorism till today. That's something, ridiculous, frankly. And the world has been just working in silos. And therefore, the Pakistan and countries like it are able to get away with whatever they do.
So, sir, Pakistan routinely blames Bharat for instigating POJK unrest. From your experience with proxy dynamics and disinformation, how effective is Bharat's rebuttal strategy at the UN?
Well, I think that one of the things is that Pakistan has quite well mastered is the first liar's advantage. It is a country that indulges in or spends a great deal of money and resources in creating narratives. And it has successfully done it with the Western countries, not only for this reason, that they have acquired some very great intelligence or something, but it is because Pakistan is a pliable country, a rentier state, and it suits and very convenient to the Western countries. And the Pahalgam, that they tried to create it, pass it off as a false flag operation by India. That's what they're saying. They even claim victory in that, whereas we were completely thoroughly defeated on the battleground. But so I think that as far as you see, there's a great difference between India and Pakistan. India has a globalist foreign policy. Pakistan has an India-centric foreign policy. Totally, security and foreign policy is only India-centric, and so therefore everything is aimed at India. How to undermine India? How to give it thousand cuts? That's why we have had so many wars with them, in which they got defeated, but then they continue with this kind of terror activities. So it is not something that India has to say. The world knows about it. The 1267 Committee of the UN Security Council, how many Pakistani terrorists have been designated by it? That is itself an example. So one doesn't have to go and say, so they are, on the other hand, they continue to accuse India of destabilizing. Personally, I feel I wish we had that capacity, but I don't think so we are doing it.
So POJK unrest coincides with the Pakistan's economic woes like IMF dependencies and deepening China-Pakistan ties. How does this fit into broader West Asian power plays?
Well, I think that in the last 10, 12 years, or at least starting, I was handling with myself from 2008 to 10. That is the time when we started really turning our relationships into strategic partnerships with the Gulf countries and the Middle Eastern countries, because it's a very important geography for us. And there, until before that, our relationship with the region was mostly transactional. And it was transactional because we thought that they are very close to Pakistan, so they can't be close to us. And that is why the OAC and all that continued to, and those countries were not even fully aware that India is the second or third largest Muslim nation in the world. So this is something that went against us for many, many years. But since then, and especially after this new government, Prime Minister Modi's came in from 2014 onwards, they started refocusing on the region. And that refocus actually was to decimate Pakistan's and expose its terror connection, which most of the countries understood very well. We have seen it when Article 370 happened, when Pulwama happened, when Pahalgam happened. We have seen that every time all these countries, in fact, when Pahalgam happened, Prime Minister Modi was in Saudi Arabia that day. So I think that this is something very important in that sense. Most of the countries understand that Pakistan is a rogue actor. At the same time, what happens is that because of their internal geopolitical issues, geo-regional issues, they have continued to depend on Pakistan Army. I think there we also missed out earlier when these countries approached us for deploying Indian retired personnel and others. But that time we did not show much interest. And therefore, that vacuum was filled by the Pakistanis. And also, they started showing the Islamic bomb and Islamic card. And that's why the agreement that we have seen they signed with Pakistan, with Saudi Arabia, a strategic mutual defense agreement, is a result of that. So, what we are witnessing now is that Pakistan is trying to reacquire its influence in the region. It's trying to becoming a relevant actor, and therefore it is very important for us to upgrade our strategic communication strategy, engage with our partners, inform them that the larger picture in their mind should not be lost. And if they are their friends of Pakistan, at least they should prevail upon Pakistan not to indulge in cross border terrorism per se against India, Afghanistan, or any other country in the world. Anywhere you look at terrorism, a trail actually leads you to Pakistan.
So, activists in POJK have now openly started calling for an UN intervention in the matter. From your experience as a former ambassador, do you see this as a genuine cry for help from a population that has been systematically denied democratic rights of decades, or is this primarily a sign of Pakistan's internal political and economic implosion?
Both, actually. What you're saying is that definitely, I mean, Pakistan, as I mentioned, is in a very deep trouble at the moment, economically, financially, otherwise, because of a thorough mismanagement that has gone on. The only elites in Pakistan are basically the army, and they are benefiting, they are controlling even the industry, they control the narrative, they control everything, including the polity of the country. So therefore, they dictate how to handle it. Now, for example, in Baloch problem, now he is given 48 hours or something like that to control it. Means how to control insurgency in a place. But in POK at the moment, POJK at the moment, I don't think there's an insurgency. There's the right demand as a humanitarian way, as a right, and people who are being governed by those people, Pakistan, to give them the basics. And United Nations must take note of that. But whether it will do something or not, because Pakistan was there until recently on the UN Security Council also. So we'll have to see how eventually it plays out. As such, the United Nations role overall can be merely that of a statement maker rather than doing much in an effective manner. Human rights comes at the in Geneva. At that time, we can express definitely our views. Pakistan, at the same time, all the time has been saying that, or OIC for that matter, that then Muslims in Kashmir, this is happening, that is happening. So that provides us that it's not as a member country, we can always raise those issues. As far as the legality of it is concerned, of course, the POJK is an integral part of India. So we are well within our rights to raise various issues in the international fora.
Given Pakistan's historical playbook of using terrorism as an instrument while crying victimhood at international forums, what specific diplomatic offensive should Bharat launch now, particularly engaging West Asian and OIC countries?
Well, I think we have been doing it for a long time as far as Kashmir and the terrorism is concerned. Kashmir was concerned. But the Kashmiri people have also realized and they witness what is happening actually. And the benefits that they are getting out of the government's various programs and that they are an integral part of India. Now, those are things, but the same things are being seen by the people in POJK. So they see the difference between their brothers this side in Kashmir here, JNK, and themselves. So obviously they are raising those voices. So that's why they are beginning to feel that they were better off in India. That's important. As far as you see, there's something which I have often written about or talked about, a very robust strategic communication organization and with a full remit, which should be also multidimensional, has to be created in India at all time. So therefore, you got to project the truth and project it with certain evidence. That is very important. Now, countries know it. I'm telling you the situation where the United States, for that matter, or any other country for that matter, have been providing us the same evidence of terrorism And then they're denying it themselves. They are not taking any action. They warn you through intelligence cooperation that such and such. Like, for example, when 26/11 happened, it was the Americans who had shared the intelligence about that boat which was coming. But when it comes action against Pakistan, at that time, they take a very different view. Same thing happened in Pahalgam. This was the TRF, the Resistance Front, which attacked, which claimed responsibility, and finally, under pressure from Pakistan, they tried to deny it. Everybody said, no, 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 there's nothing like TRF, as Pakistan said, believed it. A month later, the United States government declared them as a foreign terrorist organization. So that's what happens. So you have to continue, like what India did after Pahalgam. We sent these 7 parliamentary delegations to 32 countries, 33 countries, to tell them what exactly is. So India is doing it, but I think it has to be done in a more focused manner and at all kinds of friends and countries. Because terrorism is something which is a global problem. It is not, India will handle the terror issue itself bilaterally with Pakistan. We have now shown that Operation Sindhu continues and India will continue to take action against terror groups. We have to defend our country. But at the same time, the international community must also wake up to this. Otherwise, Pakistan is sitting really on the verge of disintegration at the moment. Well, actually, this is a difficult situation because the border between the two countries is very heavily guarded, one of the most heavily guarded. So even if those people want to come in, or from India you want to give something, it will not be possible to do so physically. But what we can do is we can always ask our friends, or through some Gulf countries, we can always try to channel that aid for people in the POJK.
China has repeatedly called Pakistan its all weather friend and has invested billions of dollars in the China Pakistan economic corridor, a significant portion of which runs through POJK. With widespread unrest, crackdowns, and political instability gripping the region, how concerned is Beijing?
Well, Beijing is concerned because we have seen that several attacks have taken place both in Balochistan as well as in Gilgit-Baltistan. As we know, that on their Chinese personnel have been killed. They have invested nearly $60 billion in the China-Pakistan economic corridor. So obviously, they are very much concerned about the safety and security of their investments and the projects. At the same time, they are trying to deal with it. I mean, I'm told that the Pakistan Army has allowed the Chinese to have their own security with them. So that's also something that is impinging on the sovereignty of Pakistan in that sense. Definitely, they are not at comfort level when this comes to these kind of insurgencies and discontent and protests are taking place. Then China becomes a target in that sense because China is enabling Pakistan.
So, from Bharat perspective, how should New Delhi factor in China's deep stakes in POJK while crafting its own strategy?
Sino-Pak axis is going to be a big challenge for India. There's no doubt about it. Whether it is for our defense, for our economic engagement, for our expansion of relationships, it is not a zero-sum game. But at the same time, definitely it is a factor that we need to carry on, which can only be countered by better relationships around the world. We are still having reasonable relationship with China, and India continues to inform China about these things. I've seen myself several times that the role of Pakistan as a terror promoter. But at the same time, the Chinese don't listen to it because for China also, Pakistan is a convenient tool. I often say that Pakistan behaves like a state of China, and therefore the remit of China, and they serve a very useful purpose for Pakistan. So if we are going to expect any action from China, China may not do what China does. Like whenever India or other countries raise question of listing, at that time they will put a technical hold, means bringing them some technical glitches and try to give 6 months, 12 months like that, and eventually agree to it. So on the surface of it, they say we are fighting terrorism, and they are scared of terrorism also themselves. ETIS and all from Afghanistan, as you know, they have their own Xinjiang problem. So I think that in this sense, the India has to talk to a lot of countries. For example, we are all part of the SCO, Shanghai Cooperation Organization. Now, Shanghai Cooperation Organization, Pakistan and India both are members, China, Russia, and several Central Asian countries and Iran. This organization was set up to counter terrorism and other security related issues. And you have a country whose the cross border terrorism is an integral part of their foreign policy. So you can imagine the dichotomy and the paradox of the whole thing that happens. So I think that we'll have to continue to expose, and it has to be done in a holistic manner. Like when we have United Nations, for example, once it defines, it adopts a CCIT, Comprehensive Convention on International Terrorism, and then the countries are held accountable. Otherwise, Pakistan projects itself as a victim of terror. That's another strange thing. They create Taliban, they create all terror groups, they support and sustain those terror groups, and then later on they cry that they are being hit by them.
Radicalization, demographic changes, and terror infrastructure in POJK have long spilled into Bharat and beyond. From a West Asia perspective, where you have seen similar state sponsored extremism, obviously, Pakistan has continued its occupation of POJK while also using terrorism as a strategic tool. How have these policies eventually harmed Pakistan's own security, economy, and stability?
Well, you know that Pakistan in the 90s and the 80s created Taliban, right? Or the Mujahideens to fight against the Soviets. Later on, they harbored them. Today, they are being destabilized by the Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan. You see, so same people that they tried to field, the new ones that they created. And that's why I say Bhasmasur. What is Bhasmasur syndrome? It is that Bhasmasur was a demon. I'm sure you know the story. He was a demon king who went to Lord Shiva, prayed to him, and he said that please give me a wound that if I put my hand on somebody's head, that person burns to ashes. Right? And then he said, yes, tathastu. So once he said so, then he said, let me try on you if it works. So Pakistan is paying for its own sins.
Sir, you spoke this earlier also. Post abrogation of Article 370, Bharat's Jammu Kashmir has seen infrastructure boost, record tourism, and democratic participation. In contrast to that, POJK in 2026 is marked by protest over bread, electricity, reserve seats, internet blackouts, arrest, and civilian casualties. How stark is this contrast, and how should Bharat highlight this before and after reality internationally?
I think that this is very evident already to the world because, see, Pakistan, if not a failed state, it is a failing state. Everybody knows it as a state only. And then in that, they have these kind of step brotherly attitude towards Baloch people, towards the POJK, towards Waziristan and all. So I think that this is something that is being played out. So a country that is already at the mercy of others also exploits its own people and people in these regions. And therefore, there is no comparison between the prosperity levels of Kashmiris in Jammu and Kashmir and those in the POJK. I think that should be part of our new communication strategy, as I mentioned.
What are the long term scenarios of POJK for Bharat and others?
Well, number one is that I doubt very much that the army would like the elections to continue or to have it. They might always have this situation that this is out of control, it can't be held, which gives them the power to continue to occupy. And at the same time, the people are not going to rest till their basic demands are met, whatever. There has been a 25-point agreement which was done, and there are 38 or so demands that were there. But most of these demands have not been met. So they are thinking of having some kind of a committee which will decide on exactly what to do further. So this problem will continue. Of course, this causes anything. If the people of Jammu, Kashmir, POJK suffer, it is also a part of India suffering in that sense of the term. And their expectations from India are quite high. In fact, even not only POJK, but outside also, people are comparing India in the last 80 years compared to Pakistan, where it is and where India is. So frankly, they do understand. But we need to also convey that what is happening and how can we help people. If we can't do it directly between bilaterally with Pakistan because of our relationship or no relationship with them, we can always use our friends in different countries to provide that assistance or channel it through them. So that is something that will convey the message that India means well for the people of POJK.
Looking ahead, how can Bharat's West Asia diplomatic capital, strong ties with UAE, Saudi Arabia, Israel, etc., be leveraged to isolate Pakistan further on the Kashmir issue?
But right now, I think that none of these countries are interested in raising the issue of Kashmir. I mean, they used to mostly think about against India in it. Today, that is not the situation. Today, they appreciate what India, that it's an integral part of India, that's our position. They understand it. And so, therefore, that will not happen. But if we are thinking that they will go and tell Pakistan something, I think at this stage it is difficult to even think about it because Pakistan has signed this strategic mutual defense agreement with uh, Saudi Arabia, which is the most powerful country in the region. And now they are probably expanding into Turkey and Egypt along with it. So once that G4 kind of a thing happens, it'll also have an impact. Nobody will say. Secondly, in the OIC is one platform where Pakistan is there and we are not there. So Pakistan is able to manipulate statements from there in the on Kashmir and the Muslims in India. It is something that has to be tried, has to be consistently worked upon, but it may not have very quick results as we expose Pakistan. Whether they will take any action right now is, for me personally, I don't see that they are going to do anything much because they are dependent currently on their relationship with Pakistan in a broader context. One part of our country is in the occupation of Pakistan. What we are highlighting is the plight of the people there. That doesn't prevent, critics might say whatever it is. Governments may do differently, but then there are other channels through which you can always highlight these issues and help the people of the country. I mean, in fact, indirectly, it will also help Pakistan if situation stabilizes there for some reason. But I don't think they will do anything. They have neglected these people. They have exploited them all these 80 years. And I doubt if they can change their colors.
You have seen occupations and unrest in West Asia. What parallels do you draw with POJK?
Here, they are fundamentally very different in many ways. So therefore, I don't think that the Indian government or Bharat is approaching it from that point of view. We have already agreed that all issues between India and Pakistan will have to be decided on a bilateral basis, whether including Kashmir. So any issues that whenever Pakistan now, but it is predicated on Pakistan not indulging in terror. That's why India says that terror talks cannot continue. When it held the Indus Water Treaty in abeyance, it says that Prime Minister Modi said the blood and water cannot flow together. Trade and talks cannot go together in this kind of a situation. So therefore, terror and terrorism, cross-border terrorism from Pakistan, is the fundamental problem between India and Pakistan, and that also applies ipso facto to POJK as well.
How do you think major Gulf countries would view prolonged instability in POJK? Would they encourage de escalation there?
Yes, I think so, because those countries which have very close relationship with Pakistan, so if the situation continues to go out of hand, they will definitely try to prevail upon Pakistan government to sort it out. The problem is how will they sort it out? Is do they use military means to sort it out, or they use reforms and supplies restoring to supply? That's the thing that will be very important to understand. At the moment, Gulf countries are all facing the effects of the war between Iran and the USA. So they have their own problems to solve in the first place. So they are not at the moment looking at POJK or Baloch problem or other issues. So I think that, but once the situation settles here, definitely I'm quite sure They will continue to talk about this, and India will also have to raise it with them to have the situation resolved.
Protest in POJK continues to intensify as voices from the Pakistan occupied region grow louder, demanding freedom from ISI control and genuine political stability. Across the LOC, refugees from POJK in Jammu's Rajouri and Mandel camps are openly urging Bharat to intervene and provide humanitarian aid. While Bharat's Jammu Kashmir marches ahead with infrastructure boom, record tourism, and democratic participation after the abrogation of Article 370, the contrast with POJK has never been starker. As the mask of Azad Kashmir crumbles, the world is finally beginning to hear the real voice of POJK. Thank you so much.